Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Day 4 recap of the Summit 5. With the elimination of FDL and Venom yesterday, we only have 6 teams left. And when today is finished, we will only have 3 teams remaining for the final day tomorrow. So let's get started. In the first series, we have Team Liquid versus Digital Chaos. DC haven't had a particularly strong showing against any of the TI caliber teams since they qualified for TI 6. So they certainly have a lot to prove against Team Liquid. And in the first game, TL had a better start since their carry Morphling had a top CS along with 2 very early kills, but DC was able to hold their ground for the most part. However, as we progress later into the game, you'll notice a huge problem with DC's lineup. Just like you saw there, even though the Void landed the best Chrono Spear possible, but DC just didn't have enough damage to finish off Liquid's hero. Not to mention, Liquid have some of the hardest heroes to kill in the current meta, such as the Timbersaw and the Morphling. DC tried to fix their problem by getting Dagon on the Mirana and Bounty Hunter, but it was still not enough, even though the scoreboard didn't show that much difference. But it was actually a very difficult game for DC since they couldn't deal with Liquid's carry at all. At 46 minutes, Jerax on Lion was able to find resolutions for it in the trees near the bot lane, which allowed Liquid to pick out a few straggling DC heroes nearby, and it also forced them to use their buybacks to defend. Moments later, Liquid was able to kill DC again, with Void and Oracle dying right after buying back, and the Darkseer didn't have a buyback at all. DC could not defend 2 vs 5, so they had no choice but to GG out of game number 1. In the second game, DC went for a second pick Meepo, which was an interesting pick even though it's a hero Weeha's famous for. It's not like Liquid banned it in the first game, and picking up so early gave Liquid so many opportunities to counter it, and they did just that. Liquid picked the Warlock just to keep Meepo under control, and more importantly, they picked the Drow Ranger oriented lineup. They were able to get an early Aegis at around 10 minutes, and they were already pushing DC's high ground before Meepo could even come online. Without any level advantage, and no Blink Dagger yet, the game proved to be too difficult even for Weeha's Meepo. And with that, game number 2 ended at 17 minutes and 8 seconds, making it the fastest game at the Summit 5 so far. It will be interesting to see how DC adjusts before TI 6. These last 2 weeks, they haven't been impressive at all. They lost 0-2 to CDECY at 9 Championship last week, and they barely beat Empire 2-1 in that very close series, and both of those teams will not qualify for TI 6. And then they went on to lose 0-2 to LGD and crash out of that tournament. And at this tournament, they lost 0-2 to Fanatic. And yesterday, they had a confidence booster versus FDL, which they won 2-0 easily. And today, they lost 0-2 again to Team Liquid. So it seems like they can do very well versus teams that aren't TI level. However, they have not won any official games yet versus any other TI caliber teams since they qualified for TI 6. Next week's Star Ladder will be their last chance to adjust their form and show some results. Otherwise, it will be hard to imagine them getting far in Seattle. For the second series, we have Fanatic going up against Navi. In game 1, Navi had a good start. Alchemist had free farm for most of the early game, and he had 13k net worth at 15 minutes. Even though Fanatic traded kills with Navi early, it wasn't enough since they didn't disrupt Alchemist's farm at all. Once Alchemist came online, Navi had complete map control, and it was just a matter of time before they pushed Fanatic's high ground. At 31 minutes, Navi finally decided to push with their Aegis, and Fnatic came so close. Even though they were able to kill support Wisp and Chen, they were also able to kill the Alchemist. However, they had no answer for the Alchemist once he came back to life. The Wisp fought back to ensure Alchemist could stay alive, and Dendi just destroyed Fnatic's squishy supports. And with most of Fnatic being dead with no buyback, Navi was able to secure 2 lanes of barracks off this one push, and it wasn't long before they took game number 1. For the second game, the first 20 minutes was fairly even for both teams. As we progressed further into the game, Navi's single carry lineup showed its weakness. Dandy on the Axe slowly fell off since he could not farm nearly as fast as the other carries in this game, and they had a Terrorblade as their only carry, which means they cannot teamfight unless he had Metamorphosis available. Mid 1's Timbersaw also caused tons of issue for Navi since they didn't have any other damage besides the Terrorblade to take him down. Even the Terrorblade was barely able to scratch him late game. And at 41 minutes, Navi had no choice but to call GG, and we will go to a final deciding game 3. For the final game of the series, it looked like it was going to have a similar trajectory to game 2. fairly even early game with Timber going to get pretty big. However, unlike game 2, everyone on Navi was very farmed this game thanks to Bounty Hunter's Track Gold. Navi's teamfight proved to be too powerful for Fnatic to handle, since they had RP, Black Hole, and Chrono Spear all at their disposal to use. After getting some very necessary Track Gold, they were able to get BKBs on Magnus, Enigma, and Void. And since Lifestealer had building BKB, they were all immune to Timbersault's damage in teamfights. And also unlike last game, this time Navi had more damage and more control for Timbersault. At 44 minutes, Navi attempted to push Fnatic's high ground. Dandy forced and blinked into Fnatic's tier 4 to solo RP a Disruptor, and skewered him back to tier 3. Meanwhile, Void was able to find a solo kill on the support Naga on the side, to prevent her from using Song to reset the fight. Artstyle was able to follow up on Dandy's initiation and landed a perfect Black Hole. With everyone dead, Medusa and Timbersaw was forced to buy back to defend the base, and Navi attempted to keep pushing despite the buybacks. However, they overestimated their fighting power without their ultimates. Fnatic's 2 carries were able to 2v5 and end Navi's push. They not only defended their base, they actually even ended up killing everyone except for the Faceless Void.
Double kill! They're beating on Dire's top tower! Triple kill!
A few minutes after the push attempt, Fnatic went into 5v5 teamfight against Navi. Once again, Navi's ultimate usage was on point. They were able to win a teamfight convincingly, and with Fnatic just spent their buybacks on the carries recently, it was still on cooldown, which allowed Navi to take game number 3 and take the series 2-1 and knocking out Fnatic. Fnatic had a decent showing this tournament, 2-0ing Digital Chaos, taking a game off of OG, and had a very close series with Navi. However, I feel like they must aim to do better at Starter Ladder next week if they want to do well at TI6. In the last series for day 4, we have the winner of today's 2 series facing off against each other. Liquid was the obvious favorite for this series, and they showed us why. In game 1, Navi picked Sand King for general. This hero seems to be Navi's specialty this tournament, since they're the only team that's been constantly picking it. However, it didn't work out so well for them this game. In the early game, Team Liquid dominated Navi by killing Sand King and dying to dual lane. TL started the game 12-0, and Navi didn't even get a kill until 12 minutes in. By then, it was too late, as we see this all too often with Drought Ranger lineup, where if you give them the early advantage, they can just push down your buildings very quickly. And Team Liquid did just that, as they took game 1 at 20 minutes. For the second game, Team Liquid actually picked a Navi specialty. They picked the Pudge support for Kuroki. Regardless, it's a special shout out to Navi, or they just felt like picking it. It definitely made the game interesting. With the recent Pudge buff, I actually think this hero might be a legit support. Maybe we'll even see some appearance of him at TI6, who knows. However, I must say, Kuroki's hooks were actually pretty off for most of the game, except for the ones on stun targets and a few good hooks near the end of the game. But I suppose what's more important is putting the fear into your opponent's mind. Just as you saw there, Navi attempted to stop Liquid's Roshan attempt, but they failed horribly. Even though they're doing much better this game than the first one, they're still not doing very well. Considering they need to rely heavily on this Alchemist to carry the game, and when an Alchemist is not leading a net worth chart in the mid game, most of the time you're in trouble. Since Alchemist is definitely one of those heroes that requires you to stay ahead in order to accomplish what the hero is supposed to do. Just like in game 1, Liquid already begins pushing into Navi's space in 20 minutes. It didn't take long before Navi GG out game 2, which means Liquid advances, and they will meet OG in tomorrow's lower bracket final. Navi's performance this tournament is respectable. They had some very interesting games. However, it is apparent that there's a power gap between OG Liquid Newbie and the rest of TI6 participants. Wings are very close to those 3 teams. They are very unpredictable, but they definitely have potential, and they just need to be more consistent. Anyways, that concludes my day 4 recap of the Summit 5. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed my video, don't forget to like them and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you next time.